Reboot. New Orleans Saints, Tyler Shough, Devaughn Vele bring future hope amid disappointment. Ladies and gentlemen, Ross Jackson, the backdrop. Fantastic suit. Looking sharp. Dressed to impress. Ross. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we, ladies and gentlemen?
New Orleans Saints fall to 2-10. It is now the third season out of 4 years over the course of the past 4 seasons in which New Orleans has finished with double-digit losses, and it is now the 5th consecutive season where, of course, they will miss the playoffs, but that's not a new discovery to you at all. The fact of the matter is that this is not a very good football team from a can-they-win football games standpoint. The fact is, no, they're not, and no, they might not win another football game throughout the rest of this year. Very different than where we thought that they might be coming out of that really strong performance up against the Carolina Panthers. But honestly, none of that matters when it comes to the New Orleans Saints anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this should come as no surprise. This should be kind of how it's been viewed the entire year. You know, like once you get to a certain point, and that certain point is like week 3 or 4, you kind of realize what the team is, what the ceiling, and you know how it's going to operate. And anyone who thought this team was a playoff team or vying for a playoff berth or whatever was just kind of kidding themselves. And look, I'm all for, you know, glass half full and all that stuff. But yeah, the wins and losses in the grand scheme of things don't matter. In the game itself, like watching the games and all that stuff, yeah, it matters. I mean, like you want to win. You know, like you're watching the game. You're spending 3 hours watching it. You put on your Saints shirt and your Saints hat, unless you're wearing my merch, which, I mean, how are you not, right? But you put on my merch, you're sitting there, you're watching, you've taken time out of your day to watch this, and, you know, of course, in those moments, you want to win for sure. So it is disappointing for sure, especially because of how, you know, it's one thing if you are just getting blown out and you're just a horrible outfit and it's just bad news bears top to bottom. But the Saints are just, it's crazy how close some of these games have been. And it's crazy how to the wire a lot of this has been. And whether it's a drop here or a missed field goal here or a penalty here or whatever here, but, you know, it's been heartbreak the entire season. There has been a couple games, sure, where it's just been a blowout. This has been ugly. It's never been close. But for a team that's 2-10, it's crazy how many coin flips we've lost.
Anymore. How they finish in terms of record, how they finish on the scoreboard over the course of the next 5 games is no longer the most important part of the story about this New Orleans Saints team. What is? It's young talent.
Yeah, but it's all kind of one and the same. Like, if like the wins and losses, I'll give you a perfect example. But like if we would have won the Miami game, it's because of scoring. It's because of Tyler Shough. It's because of offense. It's because of those performances. You can't win games without performances. And so on one hand, the actual record doesn't matter. But if the development of young players matters, namely the quarterback, right, the most important position, especially going into an offseason where you potentially get the first overall pick, you need to see wins. You need to see big offensive performances. You need to see a scoreboard that doesn't have the Saints with a 0 next to it, right? Like, all of that, all those dominoes have to fall in order for what Ross is talking about. So I kind of push back on the whole thing of doesn't matter, you know, wins, losses, the score, any of that stuff. All that matters is the development because it's all tied into the same. It's all one and the same. The Saints need to start scoring. They need to start showing some offense, like some ability. Now, does it matter if we lose 42-44? No, it doesn't. But it absolutely matters if we lose 13-0. It absolutely matters if we lose 10-3. That 100% matters.
And even on Sunday, in its 17-21 loss to the Miami Dolphins, the young talent impressed. Tyler Shough might have thrown 2 interceptions on the game. One that will count. Another was on 2-point conversion, which was like the absolute worst case, darkest.
It is kind of funny how like that doesn't count, like in the grand metric, that it doesn't go down as a pick or any of that stuff. But it like not only did it count, but it was quite literally the difference in the game. That pick 2, which goes to show just how dumb some stats are. But the fact that that's not an interception, even though it was the most important play in the game and affected the scoreboard, like I think that's kind of crazy.
Timeline scenario for a 2-point conversion, put one behind the wide receiver, it gets picked off and then brought back to the house. So not only do you miss out on your chance to tie up a game, but you give the team a 4-point lead. That would end up being the difference in this matchup. But his late rush in the game, or not rush, but like his late rise in this game, despite the continued slow starts for this New Orleans Saints team, helped to keep the team in the game. He completed over 68% of his passes. He remains the quarterback in this year's draft class with the highest completion percentage amongst all rookie passers. And he threw 2 touchdowns in the game, one to Chris Olave, another one to Devaughn Vele. Both of them, again, outside of structure. And we continue to raise the question marks about why does everything outside of structure seem to work? Nothing inside of structure seem to work. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. But Tyler Shough had a fantastic game in this one, minus.
I don't know about that. I think he was good, but had a fantastic game. It's like the meme. It's the meme where the person like puts the stick in his bicycle wheel and then he's on the ground and he's like rolling around, and it's like Tyler Shough had 3 turnovers in this game. And again, one of them was very costly. So it's like, yeah, he was good in the second half, but I mean, you talk about grading on a curve. I think, and I'm not saying he was horrible, but I'm just saying the fact that it's like Tyler Shough was fantastic. He had a late surge, almost won the game. I was like, well, I mean, he had 3 turnovers, like that's pretty costly. Like that's definitely a reason why we lost for sure.
The interceptions. Charlie Smith gets his first ever opportunity as an NFL kicker and drills one from 56 yards away and converts an onside kick. Yeah. They gave the New Orleans Saints life at the end of this matchup where they should have been down and out at a much earlier point because of how inept the offense looked throughout the early goings of the game. Devin Neal got his first starting experience and exposure. Evan Hull getting in there and taking snaps away from Audric Estime, who's been on the active roster for weeks. Evan Hull gets...
Well, and taking snaps away from Taysom Hill. Like Evan Hull, like Taysom Hill had 10. He was the leading rusher. He was the entire offense, especially on 4th down and 3rd and 1 and whatever, just 7 days ago. And now Evan Hull gets 6 times the amount of carries that Taysom does.
And all of a sudden he leaps ahead of him and starts getting some carries and opportunities there. And then you go outside of that too. Devaughn Vele, fantastic game for the second-year wide receiver who still has 2 years left on his contract. It's why the Saints paid such a high price to get him here to New Orleans. And his performance, catching all 8 of his targets outside of the 2-point conversion where the ball was thrown behind him for 93 yards and a touchdown on the day, including some impressive...
Yeah, I mean, look, you can go back and watch it. Some of those catches were very hard, like contested. How the hell did he do that? How did he come down with that? It's one game, but I mean, if I could buy stock in like a player's future, I'm buying all the Devaughn Vele stock. I think he could easily be the number 1 for this team. I mean, he was doing some magic out there. So, and that's kind of that's really the grand theme for this entire season. Is like that trade has been laughed at, been criticized, it's been called a disaster, and in many ways, up until this game, it has been. And who knows? Maybe this game is a blip on the radar. But then you see that game, and you're like, okay, I get it now. Okay, I see what we're doing here. So it's like there's just so much of that. It's the whiplash is crazy because you just don't know what you're going to get week in and week out. There is something happening behind the scenes, some grand design that's going on that you just can't jump to conclusions one way or the other. You can't get too high or too low on any player or any scheme or any whatever. Like after the Atlanta game, we crushed, which again, this is more evidence that Kellen watches the channel. There's not a doubt in my mind he does. We crushed the Taysom Hill stuff. Get rid of it, I said. Throw it in the trash. Take that stuff out of the playbook. 7 days later, all of it's out of the playbook. Okay, well, we're not talking about that anymore. It's like, all right, okay. Like, cool. We spent all week talking about the Taysom stuff, and then, boom, Evan Hull's carrying the ball 6 times more than Taysom. We spent however many weeks, months, people have spent talking about how bad the Devaughn Vele trade was. Okay, well, Throw all that in the trash because he could be our number one wide receiver. So that's just the kind of season we're in. And in 2025, it is so rare, or not rare, but like it's just not something that happens all the time with fans and analysts and this new like hot take, quick take culture. No one's used to this. No one's used to like sitting back and watching and kind of experimenting and having some patience and whatever. Now it's all like bang, 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 bang. Hot take, opinion. And in this, it's pretty obvious now with the Saints, where we are right now, it's just useless. It's just useless to get too high or too low or too focused on one thing, because it will and can change in 24 hours.
Grabs, particularly on in-breaking routes, something the New Orleans Saints have not been able to consistently do throughout this entire season so far. Now all of a sudden, they're using their big physical body in a way that you should be using your big physical body, even though Kellen Moore tried to turn him into a blocking tight end during the first half of this game, and that ends up giving up a strip sack at an earlier point in the matchup. So once everything continues to fall into place for how these young players can be utilized, and that's just the offensive side. The defensive side, you saw guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry coming up with a big interception to go turnover for turnover, takeaway for takeaway up against Miami in this matchup. You saw Chase Young get out there and get another sack on the day. You saw Quincy Riley.
Chase Young's been really good all year long. That's another one. Like, how much did we hear about the Chase Young extension in the offseason and this whole season? Nope, turns out he's good.
Riley come up with what should have been an interception. Danny Stutsman with the Goldberg spear on a run play. A lot of impressive stuff from the from the Saints' young players. And so you have all of this going the right way on a developmental side. It's just not showing up on the scoreboard. Team still has only scored 20 points twice this season, once against the San Francisco 49ers, once in their win up against the New York Giants. So that's 2 games within the first 5 games of the year where they scored 20 points. They've not been able to do it since then. And then you look at the slow starts. The Saints have scored 19 points in the first quarter over the course of this year. You heard that correctly. 19 points,
it's crazy.
19 first quarter points in 12 games. These slow starts have been a big time issue for New Orleans. It's something that they're going to have to continue to navigate. And
I talk about like how unique all this is for a fan. And like what Ross just talked about, I still hear people say like, man, did we blow the Ruiz pick or what? It's like, yeah, but you're going to have to set your calendar to 2025 and get with the program. Like worrying about Marcus Davenport and Isaiah Foskey and Cesar Ruiz and Trevor Penning and all of that. Like, yeah, that all was not awesome. It was all mistakes, but we're like multiple coaches from then. We're multiple roster moves from then. We need to be focusing on like this young class, because when you watch the Saints game, it is crazy how impactful, or how important, I guess, like the rookies are. They're everywhere, especially now that Devin Neal's a starting running back. I mean, in this game, you're looking at Tyler Shough, Kelvin Banks is at the left tackle, Talise Fuaga is at right tackle. You've got Devin Neal at running back. You've got Devaughn Vele is basically your number one. Defensively, you have Chase Young. You have, who I know he's not a rookie, but he's young. You got Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker. You got Danny Stutsman. Like, I mean, this is a Madden franchise where someone said, you know what? I'm just going to draft 10 players and put them all in. There's going to be starters. I'm just going to play like that. So, like, the whole, I mean, I still hear and see comments that are just like, man, Cesar Ruiz, man, can you believe that draft pick? It's like, dude, we got to move the page. We got to turn the page. Yeah, it was a miss. Yeah, wasn't fun. As bad as the Cesar Ruiz pick, like, could you imagine whiffing on, like, J.J. McCarthy? You know what I'm saying? So, but the Saints, like, it is so true. You get caught up, and I get caught up on game day. Like, I was live streaming the Dolphins game. It's like, man, I just want to win. I want to win this game. I want to, like, we're so close. We're right there. But you do take a step back, and it's like, even Charlie Smith is the kicker. You got like developmental kickers. You got young players. You got Charlie Smith kicking an onside kick to Devaughn Vele. It really is like. And then there's injuries, like with Eric McCoy going down or whatever. But compared to last year, and last year, think about the difference in the team. Think about the difference in the personnel from one year to the next year. And I don't know if we've really given ourselves the time to step back and look at it and realize how much change this team has gone under. Whether it's, last year, we started the season with Derek Carr as our starting quarterback and Dennis Allen as the head coach. Since then, think about the change. Derek Carr, starting quarterback, Dennis Allen's the head coach, Clint Kubiak's the OC, then Allen's fired, Rizzi's the interim, then Carr gets hurt, Rattler's in, Jordan Mims is in, now Kellen Moore, Brandon Staley, you got 9 rookies, Devaughn Vele's involved, you traded Shaheed, Penning got traded, now he got benched by the Chargers, great trade Mickey. So much is taking place. Kelvin Banks is your left tackle, Talisi Fuaga is your right tackle, and when you really step back and think about it, it's like you almost have to. Besides changing the logo, it's hard to have more change from one year to the next.
Eventually, find a solution to. We'll dive into some of those solutions here in a bit, but for the Saints right now, looking ahead, week 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. What this team needs to be able to do is show that it can continue to successfully develop its young talent. That's what the rest of the season's about. It's not about the win-loss record anymore. It's not about the scoreboard anymore. You want to see some improvements 100%. Would you like to see this team win games? Sure, but maybe the best thing for them is that they continue to develop this young talent that has been impressive. This 2025 draft class, which is clearly the future of this team when it comes to its new era, but then put itself in position to walk away with an even better 2026 draft class if they can stay in the top 3. Right now, the Saints are at the number 2 overall selection at the moment, with the New York Giants left to play up against.
And my pushback on that has always been man, you are walking a tightrope. To be develop, be good, take steps, but not too many steps. It's you're asking a lot, right? You're asking a lot for Tyler Shough, Devin Neal, Devaughn Vele, the entire defense to take steps and be good, but also lose to the Jets and the Titans and the Panthers and that's hard to do. I would much rather just say, y'all go be good. Y'all go be real good. And if y'all are so good that we win out, cool. Because it's easier to see a world where they take a step and they keep moving forward and we progress and we play better. It's easier to see that world than they progress, they play better, they're good, but we lose and we keep losing and we lose to the Titans and we lose to the Jets and we lose to whoever. So if I could have one or the other, I would rather have a guarantee that these guys develop and play really well.
Against the New England Patriots later on today. So for the Saints, their focus moving forward needs to be on this young talent, continuing to develop them, whether it's Tyler Shough, whether it's Devaughn Vele, whether it's Devin Neal, whether it's Charlie Smith. Even just figuring out who your field goal kicker is for 2026 is more important this year than the win-loss record throughout the rest, or at least winning games throughout the rest of the season. Now, for any player out there, especially those that are towards the twilight of their career, would you like for them to win some football games towards the end of this? Yeah, absolutely. You want to go out there and you want to win for this team. And there's nothing wrong if this team goes out and wins games towards the end of the season. But at this point,
I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say we don't throw the pick 2 and Chuck Smith has to make a field goal to win the game or to go up, right? Okay, well, if he's progressing and he makes that kick, then you want the defense to progress and stop Miami from scoring. Then the Saints win. It's that just shows how small that window is that people are talking about of progress but lose. That's hard to do.
What's most important for this team is that it develops its young talent on both sides of the football and on special teams when it comes to Charlie Smith, and puts itself potentially in position to add even more impressive, impactful young talent over on this offseason. They're going to have to do a lot of that over on the offensive side, which is where I think the Saints are going to have to look when it comes to improving some of the ups and downs that they have had throughout the season and turning them into things that are more consistent. Because right now there's a lot of doubt around Kellen Moore, and it's hard to argue against it. Let's get to that next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's a straight up youth movement in New Orleans, for sure. And we keep talking about like the first pick or the first round pick. Let's say they don't go quarterback. They're basically taking they're pretty much taking a defensive player if they don't go quarterback, right? They're taking some combination of Arvell Reese or Downs or interior defensive lineman or whatever. Hard to imagine they go running back. Hard to imagine they go wide receiver with a top 3 pick. And then you think about the team itself and like what we're talking about. Like if they go take Arvell Reese and all of a sudden the defense is some combination of Chase Young, Arvell Reese, Danny Stutsman, Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Justin Reed, like that's a wild defense. I mean that is a young defense. Isaiah Stallbird's out there doing his thing. Because we keep talking about the offense, and the offense is the problem, and the offense is slow starting or whatever. But beyond quarterback, it's hard to imagine they address that in the first round, unless they really do like win a couple of games, and all of a sudden you take wide receiver, whatever, 7th overall or something. But it's hard to imagine they don't just keep adding to this defense. And maybe they find some offensive help late. I don't know. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments below. I will see you in the next video.